Right now, the firearms market's sitting in a strange place. Hype circles are running faster than ever, which means perfectly capable guns are getting dumped onto dealer shelves at embarrassing prices simply because they're not trending on YouTube. The people flipping these guns toward the used rack are doing you an enormous favor, and most shooters are too distracted by rail systems and Cerakote finishes to notice. We're going to fix that today. 7 guns that the market has written off, 7 guns that'll still be running when the expensive stuff is collecting dust in a repair queue, and all at prices that'll make you question every firearm purchase you've ever made. Starting off at number 7, the Ruger American in 308. Walk into almost any local gun store and there's a decent chance you'll see one sitting on the rack collecting dust while people crowd around the expensive precision rifles with folding stocks and giant scopes mounted on them. The first generation models especially are insanely underrated right now because everybody moved on to newer hunting rifles and chassis guns, so these older versions ended up flooding the used market. For around $325 to maybe $399, sometimes even with a scope included, you're getting a rifle that's genuinely reliable and surprisingly accurate. The action is smooth, the 3-lug bolt cycle's fast, the barrel's free-floating, and the trigger's actually pretty decent out of the box. Ruger kept the design simple, and that simplicity is exactly why these rifles hold up so well over time. You don't have to baby this thing. You can toss it in the truck, drag it through the woods, use cheap ammo, hunt in terrible weather, and it just keeps doing what it's supposed to do. And honestly, that matters more than having the latest fancy setup that costs $3,000 and spends most of its life sitting in a safe. The Ruger American's basically the definition of a practical rifle. But if you actually need a dependable hunting rifle that works season after season without draining your wallet, these are hard to beat. Number 6, Beretta PX4 Storm. This one flies completely under the radar. The PX4 Storm is a pistol that a lot of people look at once, think it looks a little weird with that rotating barrel, and then walk away. It doesn't have that super popular tactical vibe, so it sits on shelves or comes in as trade-ins for cheap. You can find good used PX4s in 9mm for $290 to $400, sometimes even lower. That's a steal for Beretta. For that money, you're getting Italian engineering, a rotating barrel that genuinely softens recoil, and ambidextrous safety, interchangeable backstraps, and a Picatinny rail. The DASA trigger takes about 200 rounds to feel completely natural, and then it feels better than most striker triggers you've ever used. It's got that all-weather toughness Beretta is known for, and it runs clean. No crazy striker-fired quirks, just a solid, reliable pistol that feels good in the hand. A lot of law enforcement and military units have used versions of this platform. People sleep on it because it's not a Glock or a SIG, but that's exactly why you can still get one cheap. If you want something different that actually performs, this is it. Hey, real quick, if you like these kinds of honest breakdowns on guns that actually make sense for normal people, hit that subscribe button and the bell. It helps a ton, and I'm dropping more of these every week. Number 5, Taurus 650. Before you scroll past this one, ask yourself honestly whether your opinion of this brand comes from personal experience or from something you read online years ago written by someone who may have never owned one either. Taurus resurrected the classic Model 650 for 2025, and the MSRP ranges from $454 to $469. Street prices run even lower than that, with dealers regularly listing new examples between $368 and $391, putting a full steel .357 Magnum snub-nose in your hand for less than most people spend on a basic polymer 9mm. This is a 5-shot double-action-only revolver with a fully shrouded hammer, fixed sights, soft rubber boot grips, and a choice of stainless steel or matte black finish. The double-action-only trigger actually makes a great deal of sense on a defensive revolver. There's no external hammer to snag on clothing during a draw, no accidental single-action cocking under stress, and the trigger pull itself trains you toward deliberate, controlled shooting. The steel frame runs over 22 ounces, which is noticeably heavier than alloy-framed competitors, and that weight actively works in your favor by taming recoil when you feed it .357 Magnum loads or hot .38 Special plus P rounds. The price reflects a lingering reputation rather than the current reality, and that gap is entirely your gain. Number 4, Winchester SXP Defender 12-gauge pump. There's a very specific kind of gun that gets completely buried, not because it failed anyone, but simply because it never got the right people talking about it at the right time. That's the entire story of this shotgun. Nobody covers it on forums, nobody reviews it in YouTube videos, and the average buyer at the gun counter walks straight past it without a second glance. That indifference has kept the price on this thing remarkably low. New examples average around $337, and used ones regularly trade hands for right around $209, which is a striking number for a Winchester-branded pump with serious mechanical credentials. That collective blind spot's doing you a real financial favor every single day it continues. The SXP Defender's built around a rotating bolt that gives it a fast, slick cycling action that feels noticeably lighter than most pumps in its price range. That rotating bolt is not a minor detail. It's the same locking mechanism used in far more expensive rifles, and it translates directly into a smoother, more positive lockup than standard tilting block designs. In practical terms, that means faster follow-up shots and a cycling stroke that doesn't feel like you're fighting the gun under stress. It also features one of the easiest loading ports in the budget shotgun category, making it genuinely approachable for newer shooters who are still building their pump action muscle memory. The recoil is manageable, the buckshot patterns are consistent, and the ergonomics are well thought out for a gun at this price. If you can set aside brand loyalty and pick one up on its mechanical merits alone, you'll understand immediately why this gun deserved far more attention than it ever received. Number 3, Hi-Point 995TS. The 995TS carries what might be the single most punishing brand reputation in the American firearms market. A combination of genuinely ugly aesthetics, a budget brand name that people treat like a slur, and an internet culture that's turned mocking Hi-Point into a running joke that never gets old. The result is a current average street price of around $200 new, with dealers regularly listing them between $305 and $334 depending on configuration, and used examples turning up even cheaper than that. That is a semi-automatic 9mm carbine for the price of a cheap handgun, and the gap between what you pay and what you actually get is enormous once you set the aesthetics aside and actually shoot one. The reliability record on these is something the gun's critics consistently fail to reckon with, honestly. Reliability across range testing's really good, with no magazine issues noted, and the bolt locking back cleanly on the last round throughout testing. Hi-Point still rolls its guns out of an American factory and backs every single one with a lifetime replacement warranty, a guarantee that covers the original owner and every subsequent owner after them, no questions asked. That warranty costs the same whether you pay $300 or $3,000 for a gun. The laugh at the gun counter is free. The carbine that'll actually function when you need it most is also, by any reasonable measure, free. Okay, so here's an interesting one. Walther is a brand that people genuinely love. If you've ever shot a Walther PPQ, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That trigger's one of the best factory triggers you're going to find on any striker-fired pistol, period. The PDP carried that reputation forward and became a serious competitor in the duty gun market. So with all that goodwill behind the brand, why is the Creed just sitting there? Because the Creed's Walther's budget gun, and when people walk in asking for a Walther, they want the PPQ or the PDP experience. They want that trigger. The Creed's trigger is fine. It's a good trigger for the price, but it's not the legendary PPQ trigger, so Walther fans walk past it. And budget shoppers who don't know the brand well don't trust it enough to pull the trigger. Pun intended. But think about what you're actually getting. A full-size 9mm, 16 rounds, built by Walther, a company that's been making precision firearms for over 100 years. The gun is accurate, it runs reliably, the ergonomics are solid, and right now you can find one at prices that feel like you're getting away with something. If you want a full-size home defense or range pistol and you don't need the latest optics-ready bells and whistles, the Creed is a genuinely great gun that the market's basically forgotten about. That's your opening. Next up, a brand you absolutely trust on a gun nobody seems to want anymore. Ruger made the Security 9 to be exactly what it sounds like. A no-nonsense, American-made, affordable 9mm that regular people could actually afford. And for a while, it hit that mark pretty well. Reviews were solid, reliability was good, it sold. Then two things happened at once, and the Security 9 got caught in the middle of both of them. First, Ruger released the Max 9, a slimmer, more carry-friendly compact that basically made the Security 9 feel outdated. If you were looking at Ruger for a carry gun, the Max 9 made more sense. And if you weren't buying Ruger specifically, there were plenty of other options crowding that same price range. The Security 9 got squeezed from both sides and never really recovered. But here's the thing about the Security 9 that people forget. Ruger builds tough guns. Their reputation for durability is real, and it shows up in the Security 9. This is not a gun that's going to fall apart on you. 15 rounds of 9mm, smooth trigger, easy to take apart and clean, and it's made right here in the U.S. For a range gun or a first pistol for someone who just wants something reliable without a lot of fuss, the Security 9 at current prices is a legitimate buy. It's been overlooked so consistently that dealers are genuinely motivated to move them, and that motivation is showing up in the price tags. Number 5 has one of the wildest falls from grace of any gun in the last decade. Of everything on this list, the Springfield Hellcat situation's probably the most wild, because this gun was a genuine sensation when it launched. Record-breaking capacity for a micro-compact, aggressive price point. For about a year and a half, if someone asked what micro-compact to buy, the answer was almost always the Hellcat. It dominated that conversation. And then Springfield kind of buried it themselves. They kept releasing new versions, the Hellcat Pro with a longer grip, the RDP with a compensator, the OSP with optics mounting built in. Each new version was better than the last, which is great for innovation, but it made the original look like old news really fast. Meanwhile, the whole micro-compact market exploded. SIG went crazy with P365 variants. Glock answered with the 48 MOS. Suddenly, there were 10 solid options where there used to be 2 or 3. The original Hellcat went from category leader to just another gun in a crowded case. Here's what that actually means for you, though. The original Hellcat is still a really good carry gun. 11 rounds flush, 13 with the extended mag. The grip texture actually grips, like really grips. Some people find it almost too aggressive. The sights are fast, the gun's slim enough to disappear in a waistband, and Springfield's warranty and customer support are legitimate. Now dealers with original Hellcat inventory are sitting on it and getting antsy. You can find them way below the MSRP in a lot of places, which for a carry pistol from a major American brand with a proven track record is genuinely unusual.